Guys, this is so overdue. I get asked this all the time, comedy shows, in public, comments, DMs about my revert story. And they're like, why did you convert to Islam? Oh my God, was it a woman? Oh my God. And for the longest, I've always been like, do I do the long story? Do I do the short story? How do I go about this? So I didn't grow up really religious in any way. And when I was in my 20s, I wasn't doing good in life. I was making a lot of mistakes. And more importantly, I wasn't happy with how I was developing as a man. And I wanted to do better. And I thought maybe religion would be a good foundation. I did my thing. I went to Baptist church, I went to Catholic church, and I tried learning. And I asked, the priest, the father, the pastor, whatever, like, hey, how does this work? What do I do? And everyone just kept saying, read the Bible. And for someone trying to understand religion, it's not a good answer, because that's like me going to the gym and being like, hey, I want to get strong. And he's like, cool, pick up the weight. And then I pick up the weight and I'm like, what do I do with it? And he's like, just figure it out. At the time, I was living with my friends that are from Saudi, and Ramadan was right about to happen. And my friends were like, hey, why don't you do Ramadan with us? Maybe you'll figure something out. It's a great cleanse spiritually and all that. And I did it. I did the fasting. I did the prayers. I went to masjid. I talked to the imam. I fell in love with my community. The imam really broke it down to me, and he summarized and he educated me on Islam. And I just fell in love with everything. And right after Ramadan, I did my shahad. So, I'm not the best Muslim, but I'm trying. Every day I'm learning a little bit more. And I'm just trying to be the best person I can be. So it wasn't for a woman. Kind of. I mean, it's for like future family. But that is it. And I do want to say this, guys. Thank you so much for everyone who supports, follows. Because for the longest, I was scared to talk about Islam, being Muslim. And I used to hide it a lot. And then once I started talking about it, it actually turned to be my greatest material, because it's the truth. It's vulnerable. And I've been accepted open arms by everyone. And seeing your DMs, seeing your comments, and your revert stories are so beautiful, guys. So thank you guys so much.
Can you tell us about your journey from Christianity to Islam?
I'll tell you the story how it happened. I had to have been 19, probably right around 20. I was driving to church. I was going to teach my youth ministry, which they were from 15 to 18. That was the age group that I was teaching. I was at war with myself. Like, I needed God. I needed Him in my life. I needed the right path to God. I was sitting there. I had my Wrigley Spearmint chewing gum in my mouth. I was chewing, and I'm driving my Ford F-150 down a highway in Mississippi, going to church. I said, okay, God, please show me the way. Show me this path that you want me to be in. Show me the truth. I need it now. Please, God, please give it to me. And it just in my mind, I said, you know what? I'm going to take this gum and I'm not going to look, and I'm going to throw it. And I said, if it goes out that window, then I'm no longer going to believe in Jesus as God, and I'm just going to pray to God. So I threw that piece of chewing gum, and then I turned my head and I looked down. I pulled over on the side of the highway. I got out. I walked around the truck. I opened the door. I searched high. I searched low. The gum was gone. Got back in the truck, and I passed right by the church. So after this event had taken place, I met someone that I knew when I was in college studying. He's from Saudi Arabia. His name's Ali Al-Ghamdi. He's from the very southern tip of Saudi Arabia, a place called Bisha. We had met up. He asked me, he says, what's your religion? And I told him, I said, I'm without religion. He says, what do you mean? What's this? There's no such thing as without religion. What do you believe? I said, well, I pray to God. And he says, okay. He said, so are you a Christian? I said, no, I'm not a Christian. He said, well, what do you think Jesus, peace be upon him, is? I said, he's a prophet. He's a man just like me and you. He says, so he's not the son of God? And I said, no, he's a man. He's a prophet. He delivered a word, and he delivered a message, and I believe what he said was true. And he said, okay. He says, well, what do you think about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him? And I said, well, he says, do you think he's a prophet? I said, yeah, I do. I said, I think he's a prophet. He had a word also, but I don't believe that was for me. I believe that it was for a different group of people. And he looked at me and he stuck his finger in my face and he says, you're a Muslim, man. And then I returned the finger and I said, no. I said, I'm not a Muslim. and my name and that word will never be connected. So that day, there was something inside me. It was like a dot. There was some type of dot that had been put in my heart. So back in the day, I had my old Packard Bell. You know, it was not many people know what a Packard Bell is today. They don't exist. And so I would go on there and I would ask Jeeves, which Jeeves was the Google of today back then. So I would go and ask Jeeves, just type in Islamic topics. One day I'd come home from work and I was, you know, just following my normal routine. Come home from work, take off my shoes and everything, get comfortable, and sat down at my computer. You know, what is Islam? You know, give the 5 pillars of Islam. When I read them, for some reason, I read La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, and I said, I believe that. And then I read, make Hajj, to fast, to pay zakat, to pray. Every pillar that I read, it was like something had opened. I can't explain it. It was like if my heart was being painted or a light was opening inside me. Then once I had finished reading all the 5 pillars, I knew that I couldn't go any other direction. That was the only direction that I could go. And there was a link. It said how to be Muslim. So I clicked that link and there was a small PDF that opened up. I'm holding this piece of paper and then I went to the bathroom. I took my shahada in a bathroom. By myself, I went in the bathroom. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. I washed myself in the bathroom, and then from that point, I started praying.
Dawah is not only about words, it is about how you treat people in everyday life. When non-Muslims see honesty, kindness, and humility in you, they begin to understand Islam without even being told. Simple actions like being fair in business, keeping promises, and showing respect can open hearts more than long speeches. When you speak about Islam, keep it simple and clear. Talk about mercy, justice, and the purpose of life. Avoid making things complicated or overwhelming. A calm and friendly tone makes people feel comfortable, and they are more likely to listen and ask questions when they feel safe and respected. Be patient and never rush the outcome. Everyone is on their own journey, and guidance comes at the right time. Even if someone disagrees with you, respond with good manners. Your calm response can leave a stronger impact than trying to prove a point or win an argument. Always remember that Allah sees your intentions and efforts. Every kind word, every act of patience, and every sincere invitation is rewarded. Even if you don't see immediate results, your effort is never wasted. Keep making dua for others and continue spreading goodness with a sincere heart.